Hello, everyone, and welcome to this COVIDSafe Plan webinar series that our law firm Kaizen Synergy Legal Practice is running. My name is Nihal Samara. I'm the General Counsel and Legal Director here at the law firm Kaizen Synergy, and I'd like to welcome you all to today's first of three-part webinar series. These webinars that we are running will actually follow the previous sessions that we have been covering over the past few weeks, and also for agencies that we have been supporting since the start of this pandemic as well too, the sessions that we have been making publicly available as well too. Today's session specifically focuses on managing your COVID-safe plan and looking at the activity register that you have access to. As always, we'd like to pay our respects to the elders past and present upon the lands on which we all meet. While this session is being run by webinar, we do pay our respects to the traditional owners accordingly. So let's have a look at the 3-week session just as an overview of what we are covering. Firstly, we are going to be looking at the specific parts of the COVIDSafe plan, but also drilling down into the policies that need to support it, the pandemic forms as well too that your staff and agency can use, as well as the monitoring and reporting of your pandemic plan and activities itself as well. Throughout this 3-week session, we will be drawing on different agencies as well too, some of whom have been running their COVID-safe plan and activities, and even having staff undertake things like daily assessment audits as well too, as part of their ongoing monitoring for their service and staff safety as well. So today's session is really going to focus on the COVIDSafe Plan management and activity register that your agency really needs to look at as well too. With it, by attending this webinar, what we're going to look at giving you is a timely collection of resources for those agencies that have joined us over the past few sessions, more recently around looking at setting up your COVID-safe plans in the last few weeks as well too. You do have access to your Gemba 360 COVID dashboard. If you need access to it as well too, by all means, please contact us, and my contact details are listed on this presentation slides, and also by email you can reach out to us as well too. What you are getting is a timely collection of resources made available to the community services sector. These resources are available to you to allow you to change policies, to update forms, to give you the key information that you need at this time as well. What we're also going to show you is what COVID-safe systems and activities other companies have been doing that is actually working. So as part of this process in getting your COVID-safe plan together, many agencies have come back to us and said, look, there's a lot of information out there, but how do we know that we're doing what we need to do? And how do we also know that it's right as well too? Obviously, there's other parts of this that with setting up a COVID-safe plan, you don't want it just to be a plan that sits there. And by sitting there, you're not actually providing a safe work environment for your staff, and also services are potentially at risk as well, and obviously the community too. So how do you turn a plan into action and activities that are measurable, that you know you're meeting your requirements as well too? And also we're going to, as I mentioned, look at seeing some case examples of what has worked and what continues to work for agencies as well. So really this is a very hands-on session. If you do have any questions, by all means, please type those into the chat lines as well too, and we will get to those throughout the session. Equally, we will be opening up the phone lines at the end of the session and also chat lines, and by all means ask any questions that you might have. Just a few housekeeping items on that matter as well too. This session is being recorded. It is being made available on our YouTube channel as well too. All materials and information is also being circulated back out to all attendees of the session, so you will not miss out on any information as well. Equally, there is also a knowledge base, which we will include questions, comments, and answers that have been raised throughout the webinars as well too, and you can access those too. So equally, we will be providing all of this information that is available to you. Equally, the Gemba dashboard that many of you or all of you should actually all have access to. This gives you the access for a single seat for your agency to use. We are making this available to all not-for-profit agencies as well, to start with, as part of springboarding yourselves into getting your COVID-safe plan up, running, and working as fast as possible for your agencies. Certainly, if you wanted some other background information, we refer you to our past webinars around the COVID-safe plans and webinars that we've run in the past. So today's topic is around looking at your COVID-safe plan, getting it together, and setting up your activities and items within your agency. So the Prime Minister actually set up a 3-step framework for a COVID-safe Australia. And this was the document held up some time ago. When we looked at it in each case, and I've just highlighted the sections here, there was reference to the creation of a workplaces are to develop a COVID-safe plan. And this appeared in each of the 3-step sections. I'm not going to go into the specific what each of the steps cover, because that was covered in previous webinars, and you can go back and look at those on the YouTube channel and also in your Gemba e-learning space as well. What we are going to look at is what are the activities that you need to have, and what do you actually, and how do you actually manage those activities to get them started in today's session. There is, as many agencies have pointed out, a myriad of legal compliance documentation and information out there. There's information from Safe Work, there's biosecurity legislation, there's other types of legislation, privacy and health and well-being, and public records legislation, and omnibus legislation, Emergency Measures Act in some states and territories. There's the 3-step framework from the Department of Health. There's a whole range of just scattered information that agencies have been looking at in terms of trying to put their COVID-safe plan together. So one of the structural ways, and this is information that yourselves can do, and we have made it public in terms of how we've actually looked at the structure of the COVID-safe plan for agencies. And with that, effectively what we have done for you already is look at the biosecurity legislation, look at the omnibus legislation, also look at the directives on, if just looking at the left-hand side of this slide, looking at the directives from the Commonwealth around what employers should do to ensure their workplace is COVID safe. Look at the checklists coming out of regulators like Work Health and Safety, or Safe Work Australia. Also looked at the Fair Work and Privacy Commissioner's statements as well. From there, also looked at each of the state and territory pandemic plans. We've just put on here on the bottom there a picture of the Victorian pandemic plan for the Victorian health sector. But equally, depending on where your agency is actually sitting, what we have included is the pandemic plan for the specific state and territory for where you are based. What this gives you is effectively your compliance checklists. It gives you a series of self-assessment tools that can be immediately used. And once we start to work through this, and you'll see this appear over the next in week 2 and week 3, is looking at this idea of identifying areas for improvement for yourselves. And effectively, this process feeds into your COVID-safe plan. Now, the COVID-safe plan itself, by looking at legislation, policy, regulators, and we've put in quality standards for areas for community services and aged care and specific health services, then by taking this approach, your COVID-safe plan effectively starts to become a very living document for yourselves to start to use. It may well be that the information we're supplying to you today, you may also look at using as part of your own COVID-safe plan and updating what works you've done. But effectively, what we've given you is the structure around the specific legislative requirements from a legal compliance point of view, and ensure that you meet these key and specific areas within your own agency itself. So what you do have is access to your what we call your COVID-safe dashboard, and each of you should now have all your access levels to log in. If you don't, by all means, please email us around that, and we will get that action for you. But you can contact myself directly around that, and also just email us if you have any questions. Now, once you go into your COVID-safe plan, I will show you exactly how this works. What we have done, and this is, you can access this around this. You've got a single seat for your agencies to start off with, so you can access these resources today. So with it, what we have set up is very clearly the COVID-safe plan step 1, step 2, step 3 process. It matches the Commonwealth state government framework, which allows you to access this information in terms of how it's sitting. From there, what we have also looked at is the relevant industry plans, plus also your state plans as well too. And we've picked out a number here. You can see that just down the bottom, in terms of the Prime Minister and Cabinet's guidelines. We've looked at whether it be South Australia, Queensland, Victoria as just examples of this. Equally, WA is in there, Northern Territory, etc. So all of the different states and territories, depending on where your agency is based, is then covered in each of these steps as well. Now, one thing I will mention around this is that these COVID-safe plans are not something that is singly set up. So what I mean by that is, once it's done, effectively, it means that you need to continue to review it. What we have seen as part of this is that we are actually running this legal updates into the COVID-safe plan. So if there are changes that occur in the Commonwealth or relevant state government or territory governments, then your COVID-safe plan will also need to look at this as well too. With it, we are seeing this as part of an update as well. And with it, if there are changes with the Commonwealth legal requirements or legislation, then effectively what we are seeing equally is a change to your COVID-safe plan. And you will actually get these as part of your legal updates that we'll have coming out to your agency as well. So in this way, you can actually ensure that your COVID-safe plans, as things move across over the next few months, weeks, months, and if this extends out into 2021, then your COVID-safe plan will be something that involves as part of this whole process for you. So essentially what you've got is this. You've got your COVID-safe plan for covering your legislation, covering directives coming out of the Commonwealth, covering directives that are coming out of the different regulators, and also directives coming out of your relevant state or territory governments as well. So when we look at the COVID-safe plans, and this is how we've looked at it from, and this has worked for so many agencies over the last few months since this pandemic has started, is that each of these sections, depending on what is coming up, what is happening with at the legislative level, at the policy level, at the regulatory level across each of these areas, then your COVIDSafe plan will also be updated to reflect this change as well. What we will be looking at over the next few weeks is linking your COVIDSafe plan to external activities such as your daily assessments for staff, working from home approval forms, workstation registers, cleaning registers based on safe work requirements. And with this, it is something that we will also be covering off as we move through your specific plans itself. Now, with the plans itself, as I've mentioned, part of this is that the plan is one component of it. And when we have seen this, what you will find is that on your Gemba dashboard, when we jump in, you have all of the reference documents. You have also all of the activities that you need to meet for your individual agency as well. So let me go in and show you how this looks as well. One of the case examples that we will just cover off is around Rumbalara Aboriginal Cooperative. They've been running their plan since the start of this pandemic, but as a snapshot, one of the things, and this is all stuff that you have already access to via your COVIDSafe portal, is your plan, which is located in the disaster management section. You can then, which we will look at over the next few weeks, is looking at your policies, which you have access to templates, staff training through the college portal as well too, and all of this you can access today as well. You then have access to things like your pandemic forms, you have access to your monitoring of your registers, being your HR registers, and also your risk registers too. Within this, what we can also see is that you then have access to your specific form. So let's jump in to the dashboard and see how this looks for your agency. Now, going to it, quite simply, what we need to look at within this is this login space. And all of you have access to log in. I'm just going to use our demo login for now, but it will be your email address and you'll be given your individual password to access it. Quite simply, when you log in, and just because I've got a easy to use password, this is what you will see. When you click on the disaster module, and this is the first part that we will actually look at as part of this, and what you can see is the COVIDSafe Plan section. And under this, you can go in, and I'll just do it here. You can see that I've placed in insert my agency name here. What this gives you is the ability to actually go in. And the reason that we've done this for yourselves when you log in is to actually change your name. So you might have an abbreviation that you might use. And in this case, I'll just say, I'm going to call it ABC. And when I call it ABC, you can see that it's updated. And when I go back, I've got this here. And what I might do is call it ABC Community Service, just as an example. And I'm simply going to save that. What this gives you is the directive to then change it and update it. So you can make it your agency name. You might use your full agency name, or you might actually use just an abbreviation. Now, when I go in there, what this then gives me, and I'll click on projects, is my COVIDSafe Plan Step 1, Step 2, Step 3, and what we have also included is the JobMaker Industrial Relations and JobMaker Skills Program. Now, why the reason that we've actually placed this here is because the Prime Minister and the Commonwealth Government gave indication that there is going to be some changes to the JobMaker IR and also skills program. So for this reason, what we have done is simply place these into your COVIDSafe plan. So this way, you'll be able to get updates and ensure that your agency can access specific requirements that you can actually see as part of this COVIDSafe plan initiative. Now, to go in to the COVIDSafe plan, I can simply click on Open. And what this will give me is a list of all of the COVIDSafe plan activities that I want to see. Now, let me just show you how I got to this screen before, because this is really the hands-on part of the session that we're going to look at. So quite simply, I can go to gemba360.com. I've got my username, which we'll have emailed across to you. And this is something that you can access for your agency as well too. You've got a single seat to be able to access this portal with all of this information. Once you click on that, you'll go into it and you can click on the disaster module space. Once I do that, what will come up is this screen here. And I can then go to projects. I can then see my COVIDSafe plan, step 1, step 2, and step 3. I'm just going to go into step 1. And then I can see the COVIDSafe plan information across this space here. And from here, what I am able to then view is the individual items that I've been talking to you about. So with it, it looks longer than what it is. So the first section that I've got, and I'll just highlight these here for you, is the 14 Commonwealth directives. Underneath that, what I have is the safe work directives. So this includes the workplace audit, cleaning audit, good hygiene audit, physical distancing audit, and workplace attendance register. Underneath that, what I've then got is the specific state and industry plan items. Now, on it, that's where I can actually have a look at the tasks. What I also have under the, if I click on the document section, is a list of all of the reference documents that I showed you previously. So with it, just going back to this presentation slide, if I have a look at the specific documents that I mentioned before, here they are here, and I've got the legislation, I've got the Commonwealth guidelines, I've got the Safe Work guidelines, and I've got the state guidelines. And what we have done for every single agency for yourselves is to load in under the documents section, and this is where it is here. You've got all of your reference material. So I've got my Safe Plan, I've got my checklist from Safe Work, I've got the Department of Health information, and if I wanted to simply open that, I can click on that, and that will actually open as part of my reference document. Keep in mind that if any of these documents actually open, then quite simply what we will do is update that for you. Equally, you've also got your workplace audit checklist as well too. And again, these are the reference documents from Safe Work. And if I click on that, you've got access to that. So all of the reference documents that you want to see can be found under the Documents tab. Now, going back to the activities, one of the things that we do want to see is to, let's say if I wanted to have a look at the activities that we have. Now, the first one I'm going to actually look at is to look at this particular item here. And this can say, right, what do I have for policies for staff to stay at home? And this is one of the directives that have come from the Commonwealth. So quite simply, I'm going to open this up and I can then now update this particular item. So by opening it up, what I can do is actually have a look at who it is actually assigned to. I can look at what the due date is. I can say how much time I think this is going to take. Or if I wanted to add a comment in, then I can do that here. Now, if I wanted to say, right, what I'm actually doing is we are going to review the policy and then send this out to staff. Okay. So what we're going to do now, and you can actually see that in each of these fields, I can then actually save this and it becomes a note that I have on my COVIDSafe plan. Because I'm logged in as this user here, then what it gives me is the footprint of the date and the time that I have actually completed and actioned this task. If I wanted to assign it to somebody else, I could also do that as well too. And you can see that I can assign it here. But by saving it, what it does is leaves a footprint behind. I can also mark whether it's been assigned to it, whether it's been completed. So here is the status bar. And I can actually say, okay, have I completed it? And what the date and time that I actually did this on. So from here, from these tasks here, and I'll just click on going back to this, I can then update each of these items. I can assign it to somebody in my agency. I can update the due dates. What it also gives me is how much time I've actually taken to complete this. So if you want to actually have a look at this in a few months' time and see, well, how much time have we actually spent doing this, then I can actually trace that down. Equally, if you also wanted to run your reports around this, which is something that you want to do, especially for boards, then effectively you can click on the print button over here. You can export it to a PDF document, and I'm doing this instantly live for you. And here is my COVIDSafe plan, step 1. So I can actually look down each of these items. I can see, well, have I met the Commonwealth directives? Have I met the safe work requirements? Where are we at to with this? Have I met my state or territory requirements for each of these items? Where are we at with everything? And has it been actioned? And so this gives me the ability to actually look at each of these items and know exactly where things are at any point in time. Now, obviously, just linking it to PDF is one way, but also if you wanted to export this out, then you can do that too. So if you wanted to run in and actually look at, well, I want to actually look at this in an Excel format, then I can actually look at that in that space, and I'll just bring this off here. And we've got other formats. So this way, if you prefer working with this in Excel, then here we go. I'm actually going to open this up, and I've just downloaded this into Excel for us to have a look at. And I'll just drag this onto the screen for you as well. And what this gives me, here we are here, is the ability to actually have a look at this entire COVIDSafe plan requirements. Now, with it, we've also had some agencies over the past few weeks, and we've onboarded some 1,500 odd agencies to support all the not-for-profit agencies across the sector. So we've onboarded some 1,500 agencies over the last few weeks. And one of the questions that they had was, can we actually add in some of our own COVIDSafe plans? Well, obviously, absolutely you can. And you can simply do that by clicking on this button on the right-hand side where it says create a task. And if I click on create a task, then I can actually go in and add in a specific activity that I wanted to have for my agency directly. And this is a portal for your specific agency. So you can actually go in, you can add in a step here and an activity. And then once you've completed that, it will then appear directly in your COVIDSafe plan itself. So running your COVIDSafe plan activities is all located within your what we call the disaster module. Each one of these activities can be accessed once you click on that by going into the projects section. This will give you the ability to access your step 1, step 2, step 3 process as part of your plans itself. From here, you can then drill down and look at the specific activities that you want to see based on Commonwealth directives, safe work directives as well too. And you'll find that it also includes relevant state and industry KPIs or items that you need to comply with too. If you're looking for things like your workplace audits under safe work, then we will be covering these off in the next upcoming sessions. And you can find these checklists either on the left-hand side of your toolbar here, which allows you to complete these audits. Some of those include the workstation assessment form, or you will also find them as reference documents directly in your documents tab here. And you can actually have a look at these, keeping in mind that we'll actually update these to you as well too if the law changes over this period of time. So when we look at COVID-safe plans, what you have in your dashboard is effectively the specific Commonwealth directives. We've included board reporting as well too as an item. We've included this safe work items for yourselves as well too, as well as the legislation that's specific to your area, and also your state and territory reporting requirements as well. And you can actually print these off, as I've mentioned, and access these. So what this gives you is when you go in, you can actually have a look at the individual items. When you open them, you can look at individual comments, fields, mark these off as completed. You can see that anything that you do is automatically leaves footprints behind as well too, and it'll give you the date and the time that it was done as well. So this way, you've got a complete audit trail across your COVID-safe plan of when things have been done. And that's really important from a compliance point of view to say, well, look, we've actually actioned these tasks. We've been doing these. It's more than just an Excel spreadsheet. It gives you the real footprints and audit requirements that your agency needs to see across this as well. And with it, one of the areas that you'll see is your specific ability to actually look at the individual items that you'll see across your individual COVID-safe plans. Some of your COVID-safe plans may vary depending on the space that you're working in and dependent on what regulatory requirements your agencies may need to look at. So there may well be some changes across your individual areas. One of the items that you can look at is giving people access across these different areas. So you might have, as part of this, an admin person that oversees it, and often that's the EA to the CEO, or work health and safety has a position that might oversee the COVID-safe plans. You can equally assign these to different people in your agency as well. So you might have, as part of this, the board reporting going to the EA. You might have audits and cleaning going to an admin person to actually complete. And this is part of this process that you can actually view these individual actions and assign it to different people in your agency to participate in this whole process as well. So this is the space where your COVID-safe plan sits. That's how you effectively can manage each of your items within your planning process as well. You can see that it gives you just a very clear process and compliance review of exactly what needs to be done and when. You will also find once it goes live that the system will also send you out reminders as well too of when things need to be done. So as part of that, you may get a whole bunch of reminders, as you can see, when it's due on the 31st of August, but you can also change these dates and ensure that you meet your requirements as well. So with it going back, you can see that the COVID-safe plan, it's built off, rather than just looking at an industry plan and saying, well, does this really work for us? what we have done is taken the legal compliance areas, looked at the department requirements, looked at the state requirements, and you've got that information within your SAFE plan part itself. Jumping through these slides, what we have seen work that has worked incredibly well is where agencies like Rumbalara Aboriginal Cooperative has actually pulled their plan together and roll this out across their agency. So they've actually opened it up across their staff. And to give you an idea, they provide a whole range of services, being in aged care, justice, medical services as well too. And with the permission of Laurie Seville, we've actually just opened up this to run this as a case study for you. What you'll also find in your dashboard as well too is template policies that you can use, as well as the pandemic forms across this. And over the next few weeks, what we'll do is we'll pull the plan together of where we've started from here, and then look at updating your policies, look at updating your staffing forms for you, and also then bringing it together in terms of your monitoring report requirements from your HR, and also risk management and risk registers too. What you'll find is that then each of those forms will then update your COVIDSafe plan. So you've got your activities now. What we'd suggest is that you start to have a look at these activities over the next week to make sure that it fits within your agency and that you've marked off your core and key legal compliance obligations under your individual COVIDSafe plans. As we move through this over the next few weeks, you'll then be able to look at the staff forms that you have, and then also your individual safe work assessments. As part of that, and just to be very clear, each one of these items is, for example, looking at the Commonwealth directives. For example, ensuring you have your COVID policies in place, ensuring that your staff are supported to work from home where appropriate. How do you meet your social distancing? So when you open each of these up, you will find that we've actually given you prompts on how and what you actually need to do across each of these areas. And so when you go in, what you will be asked to do, and I'll just pick this up, is to provide comments around this and show and answer how you're actually doing it. So this system is there for you to use. It's there for you to see and monitor how you're actually tracking across each of these items. And it's there for you to run your own COVIDSafe plan action items across each of these areas. You will find that we've also divided it into risk management and also work health and safety, and also whether it be topics across hygiene and cleaning, etc. And this is again aligning to your operational areas as well. So there may well be key staff in your agency that you need to obviously look at in terms of getting this information together for yourselves as well. So with it, as I've said, the recommendations that we're making around today is you should have access to your COVIDSafe Plan dashboard. With that, your COVIDSafe Plan is located within your own dashboard area, and you can access that by simply clicking on this button here, the disaster module. And once you do that, that will open up this screen here, which you will be able to access. From there, you can look at your individual COVIDSafe plans. You're starting to access your policies, your disaster activities, which are all there. And this will really springboard you into getting your COVIDSafe plan up already within your agency. There are other webinars that you can look at around the importance of having your COVIDSafe plan and legal compliance obligations previously. As I've mentioned, you can get access to your COVIDSafe dashboard to commence working on this. And we've got this open for at least one representative within your agency. We can also open this up with you for other staff, volunteers, clients, and we've onboarded some 1,500 other agencies literally in the past 2-week period. With that, you can open this up, and a lot of agencies have utilized this space as well. We will be running specific webinars on week 2 and week 3, which will build off from this, specifically looking at the plan activities, but the focus of recommendations is log in, have a look at the plan that you can see, and then we'll look at the policies and support requirements from there. A number of other agencies in advance that we will be utilizing with their permission is Women's Housing Limited, and I'd like to thank Judy Line for opening that up specifically around some of the work that has gone on there just in the past few months, and already some of the questions that have come from there as well too. But again, a different size agencies. We'll also be looking at a number of other agencies as well too, that have worked right across, some that have worked right across different states and how they're managing that side of it, to really give you a hands-on approach to looking at the support activities that support your policy, your COVIDSafe plan. This includes policy templates and information. This includes support letters to staff to work through this process, to look at pandemic forms and reporting and monitoring for your agency as well. And you will be able to see these very clearly across your individual dashboard. With that, we'd like to open up the phone lines, and more than happy to stay on the line and answer any questions that you might have. In the meantime, if you do have any questions, you can contact us via phone or email, and the numbers to use on that is our 1300 360 360 phone line, or you can email us at support@gemba360.com.